In a rainy port, a delivery driver begs for his life, but a white-haired man ruthlessly blasts him to ashes just for talking to his woman. The system coldly announces his sixth failure as a villain. Lu Chengwen wakes up in a luxurious bathroom, clutching his chest, realizing he's been reincarnated for the seventh time. Sick of being killed by overpowered protagonists, he vows to survive this time to pay his mother's medical bills. He realizes he's in the 9th chapter of a novel, right at the moment he's supposed to get his leg broken at a banquet. To save his limbs and his life, he decides to completely surrender the female lead, Leng Qingqiu, and all her wealth to the protagonist. He struts into the banquet hall, ready to face the music. Leng Qingqiu looks stunning, but Lu Chengwen knows touching her means death, remembering his past failures. When she coldly rejects his marriage proposal, he happily throws his hands up in agreement. He celebrates his first step to survival, thrilled he won't be crippled. But Qingqiu is confused by his sudden change, especially after he harassed her for 3 years. He even calls her a brainless female lead in his mind, destined to give away her family's fortune to the protagonist. The twist? Qingqiu can hear his inner voice and realizes her new security guard might be this long ocean. She confronts Lu Chengwen, who nervously asks if she's feeling unwell. He wonders why she's angry since he agreed to break the engagement, concluding she must just be a foolish female lead. He tries to escape, promising her parents they've agreed to cancel the wedding. He celebrates the end of his simp days, ready to find other women and stay far away from the plot. Qingqiu, hearing all this, stops him, demanding to know what he's thinking. He stammers an excuse, terrified she can see through him. Swearing to never bother her again, he's ready to walk away. But he's shocked when she coldly declares she won't let him go. Qingqiu's parents arrive, and Lu Chengwen tries to explain they aren't getting married. Her father angrily threatens to break his leg, while her mother assumes it's just a lover's spat. Lu Chengwen passionately praises Qingqiu's independence. Claiming his love for her means he must let her go, he puts on an Oscar-worthy performance of heartbreak. The guests admire his profound love, and even her father is impressed, though suspicious. In his mind, Lu Chengwen is just terrified of the protagonist destroying her family and taking their wealth. Hearing his predictions, Qingqiu is determined to test if this long ocean is truly as capable as he thinks. Her father demands an explanation, and she calmly announces she agrees to the engagement. Lu Chengwen mentally breaks down, terrified of the impending doom. Her father, thinking it's a joke, asks if she's serious, knowing Lu Chengwen's terrible reputation. He begs her to reconsider, pointing out he's a terrible match. But she remains firm, declaring she won't let him run away. Her father is overjoyed, immediately declaring they will hold a grand wedding next spring. Lu Chengwen desperately tries to convince Qingqiu her brain is muddled. He begs her to cancel the contract, pleading for his life. Qingqiu, however, revels in seeing him beg after 3 years of harassment. Her father formally announces the engagement to the guests, setting the date for next month. Lu Chengwen braces for impact, counting down the seconds until the protagonist's arrival. Just on cue, a security guard steps forward, loudly objecting to the marriage. Qingqiu is shocked that his prediction came true. Her father angrily orders the guard out, but he easily dispatches the advancing men. He approaches Qingqiu, assuring her he won't let anyone force her. Disgusted, she reminds him he's just a bodyguard with no right to interfere. The guard misinterprets her anger, thinking she's being forced to act cold. Lu Chengwen grabs popcorn, eagerly awaiting the classic protagonist face-slapping moment. The guard boldly calls out her family for sacrificing her happiness for profit. He dramatically accuses her parents of pushing her into a fire pit. Lu Chengwen cheers him on, urging Qingqiu to fall into his arms, but she coldly fires the guard on the spot. The guard is stunned, and Lu Chengwen frantically tries to shush her, terrified of a violent reaction. The head bodyguard steps up to throw the guard out. The protagonist prepares to show off his power and win Qingqiu's heart. But before he can strike, Lu Chengwen tackles his own bodyguard, tearfully begging him not to fight. He cries that he's trying to save the man from being killed in one move, swearing loyalty to the bodyguard. But the other bodyguards rush in, and the protagonist powers up, ready to farm some experience points. Lu Chengwen screams and forms a human shield to stop the fight. He fiercely defends the protagonist, and the protagonist is completely confused by the villain protecting him. Qingqiu finally loses her patience and orders the guard to get out. The guard proudly declares his identity as the border war god, undefeated for a decade. Qingqiu just tells him to roll, and he surprisingly complies. Back in his hotel, he washes his face, relieved to have survived his first hurdle. The system congratulates him, offering a super sports car as a reward, which he finds useless. He returns to his father, who demands to know what schemes he's planning. His father gives him a gift box, ordering him to visit his sick godfather. He instructs his head bodyguard to protect the protagonist and send him out of the city, offering his new car as a reward. Arriving at his godfather's house, Lu Chengwen hopes to drop the gift and run. But a servant announces the arrival of a divine doctor, and Lu Chengwen freezes in horror, realizing the plot has caught up to him once again. Still trapped in the room, the villain is sweating bullets, knowing the protagonist is plotting his demise. But his survival instincts take a backseat when he notices the godfather's granddaughter. His internal monologue runs wild over her appearance. The girl immediately glares at him, demanding to know what he just said. The sidekick steps in, confused, stating our villain didn't utter a single word. Undeterred, his inner thoughts continue to narrate his inappropriate admiration. Hearing his thoughts again, the girl finally realizes she's reading his mind. Brushing it off for now, she prepares to treat her ailing grandfather. The sidekick interrupts, insisting that only his boss, the legendary divine doctor, can save the old man. Our villain watches this unfold, mentally reciting the exact cliché plotline playing out before his eyes. The granddaughter snaps at him to shut up, demanding silence while she works. As she applies the needles, he internally critiques her technique. He notes she's avoiding two crucial pressure points, a mistake that will prove fatal. Hearing his thoughts, she realizes he knows the correct medical procedure. Suddenly, the old man coughs up blood, confirming the villain's silent diagnosis. Guided entirely by his thoughts, she quickly adjusts her technique. She pierces the vital spots, and her grandfather instantly stabilizes. The villain panics, realizing the protagonist might still try to step in and steal the credit. To prevent this, he throws his arm around the hero, distracting him with a barrage of nonsensical compliments. The distraction works perfectly as the old man wakes up, fully recovered. The sidekick glares daggers at him, realizing he ruined their entire plan. Knowing he's just made enemies of everyone in the room, he decides a tactical retreat is his only option. But to the granddaughter, his actions just made him look incredibly brave and insightful. Right on cue, his bodyguard arrives with news of an emergency at his pharmaceutical factory. He seizes the perfect excuse, cheerfully bidding them farewell and sprinting out the door. Outside, he breathes a sigh of relief, thinking he's finally escaped the plot. But his joy is short-lived when he turns to see the granddaughter has followed him. She casually asks about the factory issue, but he brushes it off, eager to leave. Internally, he's screaming, begging her to go back inside and fulfill her romantic destiny. Instead, she steps forward and demands a hug. Just as things couldn't get worse, the protagonist and his sidekick emerge from the mansion. He frantically tries to play matchmaker, pushing her towards the hero before trying to escape again. But she grabs his arm, acting like a clingy girlfriend and demanding her usual farewell hug. He realizes with horror that she's doing this on purpose to paint a target on his back. The sidekick mocks him, and he tries desperately to claim she's just joking. She doubles down, recounting fake romantic encounters to solidify their relationship in front of the hero. Defeated by her Oscar-worthy performance, he knows he's been utterly played. She smirks, refusing to let him leave until he plays along. Left with no choice, he gives her a stiff hug, which she leans into with a triumphant smile. He hastily makes an excuse about a leg cramp and makes a run for his car. The sidekick approaches her, trying to use the hero's status to intimidate her. She coldly rebuffs him, declaring that no one can bully her, and walks away. Safe in his car, the villain fumes over being manipulated. His bodyguard briefs him on the factory crisis, explaining a manager is threatening to expose them. The bodyguard casually suggests eliminating the whistleblower to solve the problem. Unbeknownst to them, the granddaughter had slipped a bug into his pocket and is listening to their ruthless plotting. At the factory, the board is in a panic over a massive batch of defective medicine. He buries his face in his hands, mentally cursing the system for constantly changing the script. The doors swing open, and the granddaughter walks in, ready to confront him. He quickly formulates a plan. He'll suggest a fake recall, withdraw his shares, and disappear. But out loud, he plays the villain, proposing they cover it up and sell the defective drugs anyway. Internally, he prays she'll oppose him so he has a reason to back out. Knowing his true thoughts, she calls his bluff and completely agrees with his sinister plan. His brain short-circuits at her unexpected response. He tries to backpedal, outlining the severe risks, but she remains firm and demands the paperwork. Realizing he's been backed into a corner, he refuses to sign and gives up completely. Later, he's drowning his sorrows at a luxury club with a friend. He drops a bombshell, revealing his plan to break off his long-standing engagement to the female lead. He insists he only acted like a playboy in the past so he wouldn't embarrass her in high society later. Meanwhile, The female lead herself is tracking his location, furious that he's been ignoring her. When she calls, he acts obnoxious over the loud music and hangs up, hoping this will finally make her dump him. She arrives in person, so he quickly grabs two hostesses and puts on a terrible performance to look as degenerate as possible. When she remains unfazed, he desperately demands they just break the engagement right then and there. Instead of slapping him as he hoped, she gently hugs him, showing genuine concern. Pushed to the edge, he grabs a bottle of liquor and tells her to drink it if she wants him to stay. Knowing she has zero alcohol tolerance, his relief turns to shock when she grabs the bottle and takes a massive gulp. After carrying the intoxicated girl to his car, his night gets worse when a system alert informs him the protagonist is now on his way to rescue her. Lu Chengwen is pulling his hair out, wondering why the protagonist is out for his blood when he hasn't done anything villainous. He complains to the system that the author must be brainless for sending the hero after him. But Lu Chengwen protests that he's too busy destroying hundreds of millions worth of defective pills. The system notes this will only increase the protagonist's rescue difficulty and max out his hatred. He bursts into tears, insisting he has no intention of attacking anyone and just wants a peaceful life. Having already died 6 times in previous loops, he begs the system to just let the heroes fall in love and leave him alone. However, the system explains that this is a real world and it can only observe the character's actions. It can only offer him a reward package if he manages to survive the day. Resigned to his fate, Lu Chengwen checks on the heavily intoxicated Leng Qingqiu. Confirming she's safely asleep in the guest room, he heads out for the night. The next morning at the pharmaceutical factory, Lu Chengwen oversees the destruction of the defective pills. He feels he's finally done a good deed that might save him from the protagonist's wrath. To his surprise, Zhu Zhujiao witnesses this and is utterly shocked. She can't believe the notorious villain is destroying so much money, and even starts to find him attractive. After the workers confirm the massive batch of medicine is destroyed, a manager thanks Lu Chengwen for his courage. Lu Chengwen humbly replies that he isn't as great as they think. Then, the chief researcher, Dr. Zhang, approaches him with tears in his eyes. Feeling responsible for the immense financial loss, Dr. Zhang offers his resignation. But Lu Chengwen stops him, praising him as the irreplaceable pillar of the factory. He insists Dr. Zhang must stay to ensure the quality of future medicines. He makes it clear that the patients need the doctor's expertise to stay safe. Overwhelmed by this unexpected integrity, Dr. Zhang is left speechless as Lu Chengwen walks away. Outside, Lu Chengwen is accosted by Zhu Zuejiao, who demands he buy her breakfast. Instead of indulging her, he bluntly tells her they should transfer their shares and sever all ties. This cold rejection infuriates the spoiled Zhu Zuejiao, who has never been spoken to like that. She declares that she'll stick around just to pester him. Exhausted from the ordeal, Lu Chengwen finally goes home and crashes into bed. But he wakes up to a horrifying discovery. Leng Qingqiu is sleeping right next to him. He panics, realizing that if the protagonist sees this, he'll be turned to ash. He carefully tries to sneak out of bed, but Leng Qingqiu tightly grabs his arm. Terrified for his life, he finally manages to pry himself free and scrambles out of the room. Downstairs, Lu Chengwen tries to enjoy a peaceful breakfast, but his father glares at him menacingly. When his father demands to know what he did last night, Lu Chengwen tries to explain he was at the factory. Unconvinced, his father grabs a broom and chases him around the dining table. He accuses his son of using despicable methods on his own fiancée. Lu Chengwen desperately pleads his innocence, but his father refuses to listen. The commotion is interrupted when Leng Qingqiu gracefully descends the stairs. Instantly, his parents' demeanor changes, and they invite her to sit down for a meal. Relieved that she's awake, Lu Chengwen is thrilled when she vouches for his innocence. But his father still hits him with the broom for being an embarrassment. The parents present her with a specially prepared feast, treating her with utmost care. Touched by their genuine warmth, Leng Qingqiu realizes what a real family feels like. Meanwhile, a hungry Lu Chengwen tries to eat, but gets yelled at by his father. To his surprise, Leng Qingqiu steps in, explaining that she was drunk and that he didn't do anything inappropriate. Having survived the day, Lu Chengwen happily claims his daily reward from the system. Eager for an invincible martial arts skill, he's disappointed to receive useless items like fireworks and X-ray glasses. Finally, he gets something useful, a card that bans the protagonist for a day, along with 3 escape cards. Feeling invincible, he tells his assistant to just let Leng Qingqiu take a taxi home. But a looming threat from his father's broom quickly forces him to change his mind. In the garage, he deliberately chooses a low-profile car to avoid any unwanted attention. On the road, Leng Qingqiu bluntly states that she doesn't want to ally with him and finds him annoying. Lu Chengwen enthusiastically agrees, suggesting she tell her parents to cancel the engagement. When she asks who changed his mind, Zuzue Zhao conveniently video calls him. Lu Chengwen flirts with Zuzue Zhao right in front of Leng Qingqiu, successfully infuriating her. Unable to tolerate it, Leng Qingqiu orders him to stop the car and gets out. As he drives away, she realizes to her frustration that she might actually be jealous. Arriving at his company, Lu Chengwen reviews a document from his secretary, Shihan. He approves it and dismisses the other staff, keeping her behind, which sparks office gossip. Alone with her, Lu Chengwen remembers that according to the plot, he is supposed to act like a beast towards her. This would prompt the protagonist to arrive, save her, and break Lu Chengwen's legs. Terrified of this fate, he considers firing her to avoid the plot altogether. But he knows she desperately needs the job to pay for her mother's medical bills, so he hesitates. Shihan, who can hear his inner thoughts, is deeply moved by his hidden kindness. However, Lu Chengwen realizes that if he doesn't bully her, the protagonist won't come to cure her mother. Resolving to sacrifice his legs for her mother's sake, he prepares to play the villain. He puts on his best villain face and corners her against the wall. He demands she become his woman as a reward for her hard work. He expects her to resist, but to his absolute shock, she calmly agrees to his demands. Lu Chengwen's master plan hits a wall when his secretary flatly rejects his 120,000 monthly salary. He complains that the author's logic must be flawed if a desperate girl turns down free money. Still playing the ruthless boss, he tries throwing 50,000 at her, but she refuses. Desperate to drive her away, he offers to fire her while still paying her salary. Shihan calmly refuses, leading him to accuse her of being a corporate spy. He internally laments how she's endured so much for her sick mother while everyone misjudges her. Hearing his heartfelt internal monologue, Shihan is visibly moved to tears, realizing he truly cares. But there's no time for feelings, as Lu Chengwen has to face a press conference about a fake medicine scandal. Questioned aggressively, he vows to destroy the entire factory if another quality issue arises. A reporter grills him about his rumored engagement to Leng Qingqiu, accusing him of a PR stunt. Frustrated by yet another heroine appearing, he abruptly ends the conference. Escaping the media, he runs into a ghost from his past. His first love, Chen Mengyan. He awkwardly tries to hide, secretly drowning in guilt over how things ended between them. Mengyan recognizes him, but the tension breaks when Shihan happily bounds over to greet her. Mengyan subtly probes about his upcoming engagement, putting him on the spot. After an awkward exchange, she leaves, while Lu Chengwen internally wishes her happiness. Shihan notes what a shame their breakup was, but their chat is cut short by a call. She breaks down in tears, revealing her mother's condition has turned critical. Lu Chengwen is shell-shocked, as the plot dictates Long A Ocean should cure her. He furiously summons the system to demand an explanation for this script deviation. The system drops a bombshell. His item locked up Long A Ocean, so the protagonist isn't there. Realizing his actions doomed her, he desperately tries to undo the seal, but misses the window. He's left agonizing over the fact that his meddling might cost Shihan her mother. With time running out, he begs Leng Qingqiu for Long A Ocean's contact info. Qingqiu coldly refuses, questioning why he doesn't just ask Zhu Zhuexiao for help instead. He insists Zhu Zhao is too unreliable, but Qingqiu remains unmoved by his desperate pleas. She changes the subject, revealing she knows about a massive contract he's involved in. Unwilling to let her walk into a trap, he bursts in just as she's about to sign with a scammer. He snatches the contract and tears it to pieces, declaring the deal null and void. The scammer's bodyguards immediately move in to attack, but Lu Chengwen's men are ready. A brutal brawl ensues, with Lu Chengwen's bodyguards making quick work of the opposition. Asserting his dominance, Lu Chengwen steps on the defeated scammer. Having seen enough, Qingqiu tells him to stop and calmly walks out of the room. Lu Chengwen chases after her, trying to play off his heroic intervention as a joke. Qingqiu isn't buying it and furiously demands he stay out of her business forever. She declares their engagement is officially off, which is exactly what he wanted to hear. He eagerly agrees, as she demands to know the real reason he wants to cancel. He claims he's fallen for Zhu Zhuexiao, but Qingqiu sees right through the terrible lie. Pushed into a corner, he finally drops the act, stating that he simply doesn't like her. But his victory is short-lived as the police arrive, led by another heroine, Officer Zhang. She arrests him for the brawl, ignoring his desperate pleas that he needs to save someone's life. Thrown behind bars, a frantic Lu Chengwen begs Officer Zhang for just one phone call. Seeing his genuine distress, she surprisingly agrees, handing him his phone. He immediately calls Zhu Zhuexiao, begging the eccentric doctor to save Shihan's mother. Zhu Zhao plays hardball, refusing to help unless he transfers all his factory shares to her. Without hesitation, he agrees to give up the multi-billion-dollar asset just to secure her help. Officer Jang questions his motives, so he claims he's deeply in love with Shihan. Back at the hospital, Shihan overhears the confession and is left completely bewildered. Meanwhile, Lu Chengwen realizes with horror that Officer Zhang can also hear his internal thoughts. Officer Zhang is stunned that he would sacrifice 10 billion for a mere secretary. He's soon released from custody, only to find Leng Qingqiu waiting. She paid his bail. The two fierce women share a tense stare-down, leaving Lu Chengwen caught in the middle. He uses the distraction to sneak away, running for his life to his car. But he can't escape Qingqiu, who gets into the back seat with him. She presses him on how he knew the contract was a scam, suspecting he planted a spy. He refuses to give a straight answer, sticking to his terrible lies. Pushing him further, she asks if he truly wants to cancel the engagement, and he insists he does. He reiterates that he doesn't like her, his words harsh and unwavering. Qingqiu is silent, the weight of his rejection finally sinking in as she realizes his sacrifice. She warns him that she holds grudges, her voice trembling slightly. Embracing his villainous persona, he laughs it off, daring her to do her worst. She abruptly gets out of the car, leaving him bewildered as his driver pulls away. Alone on the street, Qingqiu breaks down in tears, overcome by his hidden selflessness. Later that evening, Qingqiu returns home to a formal family dinner. Her father brings up the disrupted contract, but surprisingly, he isn't angry at all. He reveals the man was a scammer, and Lu Chengwen's interference saved them from a huge loss. Impressed by his actions, her father confirms that the engagement will proceed next month. The pressure mounts as Leng Qingqiu's father issues a stern ultimatum: marry Lu Chengwen or resign. Meanwhile, Chengwen is just relieved to have survived his latest ordeal. Zhu Zuejiao arrives, dropping a contract that transfers away his shares. Without a second thought, Chengwen signs away 17 billion. Zuejiao is utterly baffled by his casual surrender of such a massive fortune. Chengwen explains he's more than happy to lose the money if it keeps him away from Long Ocean. But Zuejiao misinterprets this, convinced he's just trying to push her away. In a fierce display of defiance, she tears the contract to shreds. She boldly declares she will never leave his side, no matter what. Chengwen is exasperated. His master plan to play the villain is completely backfiring. Instead of hating him, Zuejiao earnestly asks him to marry her. Realizing he's surrounded by clingy heroines, Chengwen plots a quick escape. Seeking a temporary hideout, he visits his friend Chen Moken. Moken casually suggests Chengwen should date his sister, Mengyan. Unbeknownst to them, Qingqiu overhears the entire conversation and is furious. Chengwen backpedals, insisting he was just bragging and meant nothing by it. But Qingqiu is already in tears, questioning the value of their shared past. In a spiteful move, she accepts a dinner invitation from a known creep named Hu Shuhui. Chengwen immediately panics, fully aware of Hu's predatory reputation. With Long Ocean currently locked up, Chengwen realizes Qingqiu is in grave danger. Wasting no time, he rallies his men and hits the road. He swallows his pride and calls Qingqiu, begging for her help to track Hu's location. Armed with the address, Chengwen and his crew arrive at the hotel. He storms the front desk, brushing past the terrified staff. A frantic receptionist immediately dials the police. Unfazed, Chengwen orders his men to breach the suspect's room. He bursts inside, swiftly taking down Hu Shuhui before he can act. Inside, he discovers a heavily drugged and incapacitated Mengyan. He urgently calls Zuejiao, instructing her to bring a specific antidote. When Zuejiao arrives, she misinterprets the scene and assumes the worst. Chengwen hastily clarifies he's only trying to save Mengyan's life. Before he can fully explain, the police arrive and place him under arrest. Sitting in the interrogation room, Chengwen laments his spectacularly bad luck. He complains that trying to save people only ever lands him behind bars. The interrogating officer remains deeply suspicious of his true motives. Chengwen realizes the narrative system is actively working against him. Fortunately, Zuejiao vouches for his character, securing his release. But the officer slaps him with a strict travel ban until the investigation concludes. Chengwen's grand plan to flee the city is officially ruined. To make matters worse, Qingqiu unexpectedly offers to marry him as a reward for his help. This instantly ignites Zuejiao's jealousy, leading to a fierce objection. The two women begin aggressively bickering over who gets to keep him. A completely overwhelmed Chengwen desperately tries to break up the fight. Later in the car, Qingqiu confesses she never actually moved on from him. A terrified Chengwen awkwardly tries to change the subject to avoid triggering any romance flags. Meanwhile, Long Ocean finally emerges after a grueling battle with food poisoning. His subordinate presents their designated low-profile getaway vehicle, which turns out to be a rusty, sputtering, ancient tractor. Aoshin is absolutely furious, but he has no other choice if he wants to leave. His mood sours further when he learns this piece of junk costs 90,000. To top it all off, a sudden torrential downpour begins to soak them. A sudden bump in the road launches Aoshin straight into a deep manure pit. Covered in filth, a humiliated Aoshin screams for his subordinate to move the tractor. Elsewhere, a resigned Chengwen decides to fully embrace his business elite persona. He is introduced to his beautiful and highly capable new assistant, Shihan. Recognizing her as part of Aoshin's destined harem, Chengwen vows to get rid of her. But before he can act, their luxury car is blocked by the manure-covered tractor. Chengwen recognizes a furious Aoshin and immediately panics, begging for mercy. Thankfully, Aoshin mistakes Chengwen's abject terror for a polite apology. As Aoshin leaves, Chengwen's crew notices a bizarre dark rain cloud following him. Shihan approaches Aoshin, genuinely concerned about his terrible physical state. Aoshin proudly claims he braved the elements to find an ancient cure for her mother. Shihan is deeply touched by his supposed bravery and selflessness. Seeing a golden opportunity, Chengwen tries to pawn Shihan off on Aoshin. He offers her 2 years' advance salary to quit and serve Aoshin instead. But Shihan adamantly refuses, pledging her unwavering loyalty to Chengwen. Left with no other option to fix the plot, Chengwen brutally fires her on the spot. Resuming right from the tense standoff, Chengwen insists he's paying for Shihan's mother's surgery out of his own pocket, as long as she leaves the company with Aoshin. But King Q isn't about to let him dictate the terms, stepping in to calmly declare that Shihan doesn't need to resign at all. Just as the tension peaks, Zuajiao cheerfully bounds into the scene, though her dramatic entrance is ruined by the undeniable stench of the manure pit she just fell into. Aoshin is visibly horrified by the odor, realizing his cool protagonist image has been completely destroyed in front of everyone. Attempting to maintain his villainous facade, Chengwen confidently claims he does whatever he wants without caring about others' opinions. Desperate for a peaceful resolution, he tries to use strict labor laws to rationally justify his decision to fire his secretary. But Zuajiao completely derails his logic, casually pulling him aside for a private chat. She assures Aoshin she'll handle it, leaving the hero confused as to why the villain is being so unusually cooperative. Alone with Chengwen, Zuajiao drops her playful act and strictly forbids him from firing Shihan. When Chengwen stubbornly refuses to back down, she resorts to her ultimate weapon, threatening to tell Aoshin what Chengwen allegedly did to her. Chengwen is genuinely baffled, but Zuajiao smugly lists off a series of fabricated abuses, from beatings to forced dancing. The mere thought of Aoshin's wrath sends Chengwen into a full-blown panic, imagining himself being brutally sliced by the overpowered hero. He nervously tries to reason with her, pointing out that Aoshin wouldn't blindly believe such outrageous claims without a shred of evidence. But Zuajiao's chilling smile says otherwise, knowing full well that her status as a heroine means her word is absolute law to the protagonist. Zuajiao ignores his attempts to matchmake her with Aoshin, mocking his obvious fear of the hero and challenging him to fight. Defeated, Chengwen drops to his knees, literally begging the heroine to spare his life and let Shihan go. Zuajiao sadistically rejects his pleas, bursting into laughter at the sight of the supposedly ruthless villain crying on the ground. She freely admits she's only doing this because she finds it incredibly fun to torment him and ruin his plans. Driven to absolute desperation, Chengwen erupts in fiery anger, yelling at her to stop bullying him. Sensing an opportunity for more drama, Zuajiao immediately bursts into fake tears, calling out for Aoshin to save her from the villain's drugging. Panicking as Aoshin's golden aura explodes, Chengwen frantically explains to the raging hero that he merely gave her medicine for a severe stomachache. He desperately begs Zuajiao to stop her lethal prank before it actually gets him killed on the spot. Amused by his terror, Zuajiao finally agrees to drop the act, forcing him to swear he will keep Shihan as his permanent personal secretary. Left with no other choice, Chengwen mentally gives up, unable to comprehend why she won't let him succeed in being a bad guy. Forced to play along, Chengwen approaches Shihan with a strained smile, publicly retracting his decision to fire her. Shihan is overjoyed, shedding tears of relief and cheering her unexpected victory over unemployment. Aoshin is still suspicious, but Zuajiao's overwhelming stench quickly ruins the mood, driving everyone away in disgust. Zuajiao tells Aoshin to go take a bath, promising to help him get his revenge on Chengwen later. The moment they finally leave, Chengwen collapses onto the pavement, his legs completely giving out from the sheer terror of almost dying. Shihan rushes over to thank him again, completely oblivious to the fact that her continued employment is a literal nightmare for him. Alone in his luxurious car, Chengwen is on the verge of a mental breakdown, realizing his survival record in this world is currently capped at 3 miserable days. His pity party is interrupted by a call from King Q's father, Tian Hao, inviting him over for a seemingly innocent family dinner. Chengwen sees this as the perfect chance to officially sever his ties with the Leng family and finally escape this deadly plotline. Upon his arrival, Tian Hao greets him with unsettling enthusiasm, treating him like a beloved son-in-law. The true danger appears when King Q descends the stairs in a breathtaking black gown, instantly captivating him. He desperately reminds himself that she belongs to the protagonist, knowing that falling for her is a guaranteed game over. Unaware of his internal struggle, Tian Hao coldly observes Chengwen's reaction, convinced the young man is completely hooked on his daughter. Before Chengwen can officially break off the engagement, the butler interrupts with news that a man named Long A. Ocean is demanding an audience. Tian Hao is intrigued enough to let him in, while Chengwen silently cheers, thrilled that the protagonist is finally taking the stage. He gleefully envisions A. Ocean stealing his bride and taking over the Leng family, solving all his problems in one fell swoop. King Q, however, glares at Chengwen, furious because she's convinced he orchestrated this entire farce just to get rid of her. A. Ocean struts into the room with unearned confidence, but Tian Hao coldly gives him exactly 30 seconds to prove his worth. Undeterred, A. Ocean confidently declares that the Leng family's Qianfeng group is teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. He exposes their upcoming project with Zhao Shiheng as a massive trap designed to drain their cash reserves. Checking his watch, Tian Hao calmly dismisses the protagonist's dramatic revelation, ordering him out of the house. A. Ocean is stunned when Tian Hao casually reveals that Chengwen had already warned him about the trap yesterday, completely ruining A. Ocean's big moment. Robbed of his chance to play the hero, A. Ocean throws a massive tantrum, furious that the villain stole his spotlight. Desperate to regain control, A. Ocean loudly offers a second, much more valuable piece of intel worth 30 billion. He reveals a top-secret plan by the Dayu Group to construct a massive amusement park right in their city. This audacious plan finally catches Tian Hao's attention, the prospect of an easy 50 billion profit proving too tempting to ignore. The two men enthusiastically shake hands, forming an alliance that spells absolute disaster for Chengwen's plans. Seeking validation, Tian Hao formally asks Chengwen for his opinion on their new, lucrative venture. Chengwen initially agrees, but quickly realizes that agreeing with the protagonist completely ruins his villain persona. Recommitting to his role, Chengwen loudly opposes the amusement park, proposing a terrible investment in a shantytown renovation instead. Unable to tolerate such blatant foolishness, Tian Hao furiously orders Chengwen to get out of his house. Chengwen eagerly leaves, thrilled that he finally ruined the engagement, only to be intercepted by King Q, who shockingly declares her support. Chengwen is terrified by her decision, convinced she has completely lost her mind to support such a money pit. Breaking down in tears, King Q reveals the deep betrayals she's suffered from her family, who only see her as a pawn. She declares that after everything she's been through, Chengwen is the only person in the world she can truly trust. She proudly tells her father that with Chengwen supporting her, she isn't afraid of any hardships or failures. Forced into a corner, Chengwen awkwardly confirms his support for her shantytown project, internally screaming the entire time. King Q uses his backing to officially demand her management rights back from her controlling father. A. Ocean tries to intervene, romantically declaring that he is the light meant to shine only for her. Chengwen finds the protagonist's cheesy lines absolutely disgusting, visibly recoiling at the attempt to win her over. Ignoring A. Ocean entirely, King Q tells Chengwen she will follow him even if he intends to completely ruin her. Chengwen screams in pure despair, realizing his attempt to push her away only made her dangerously obsessed with him. Chengwen is completely shattered, forced to helplessly cry as King Q proceeds to force her massive investment, and Tian Hao blames him for the entire disaster. Desperate to escape his fate, Chengwen tearfully wishes to be an insignificant extra. But Long A. Ocean bursts in, furious that Chengwen stole his spotlight and his woman. King Q's father demands to know why his daughter is diving into a financial fire pit. A. Ocean grabs Chengwen, accusing him of a plot to bankrupt the Leng family. Fearing he might actually be murdered right there, Chengwen's panic hits a peak. Pushed to the brink, he decides to fight back with a roar of defiance. He confronts A. Ocean, claiming King Q's impulsive support caught him completely off guard. When her father notes the project's horrific record, Chengwen claims danger breeds opportunity. He then dramatically declares he will take on the entire massive investment himself. As A. Ocean processes this seemingly suicidal move from a notoriously greedy businessman, Chengwen secretly weeps, knowing his life is worth far more than money. He generously suggests they take the safe project, promising to step aside for A. Ocean. A. Ocean's eyes gleam, completely falling for the clever redirection. Leaving a disclaimer that he opposed them, Chengwen successfully absolves himself of blame. He struts away, celebrating his flawless escape from the dangerous trio. Later, he finds Kinkyu sobbing in her car under immense family pressure. Feeling pity for the heroine, he offers to take her for a drive. Strapping in, Chengwen launches the car into a wild, tire-screeching drift. As they tear down the coastal highway, a terrified Kinkyu pleads with him. Stopping at a beach, she asks if he truly believes the project is profitable. Chengwen drops the act, admitting it's a guaranteed disaster. He confesses he'd trade all his wealth for a simple life and relationship. Touched by his loneliness, Kinkyu agrees that the world's coldness makes people crave love. Chengwen urges her to stay away from him and invest in the safe project. But his sincerity backfires as she stubbornly vows to follow his doomed investment. Chengwen loses his mind, screaming internally at her unyielding irrationality. Things escalate when they get coffee and Kinkyu suddenly confesses her love. His attempts to fail have only made her trust his genius even more. Knowing her family will slaughter him if he loses her money, he acts cruelly. He tells her to marry Aoshin, insisting it will free her from a scumbag like him. Undeterred, Kinkyu leans in closer, earnestly offering to give herself to him completely. The sheer terror of the situation causes Chengwen's brain to freeze completely solid. Panicking at his catatonic state, she frantically screams that her confession killed him. Meanwhile, a deadly subordinate offers to assassinate Chengwen for ruining Aoshin's plans. Aoshin explodes in anger over the slum project, but refuses to kill him yet. Instead, he plans to exploit Chengwen's lecherous nature using a deep-cover spy. Dismissing blunt force, Aoshin revels in having an informant already in Chengwen's circle. With a sinister smile, he confirms the Leng family remains his first target.